सो हेलो इग्नू स्टूडेंट, कैसे हैं आप सब। आई होप आप सब अच्छे होंगे। तो आज का हमारा असाइनमेंट है BEVAE 181 इंग्लिश मीडियम। इससे पहले आप हिंदी मीडियम का असाइनमेंट देख चुके हैं। तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं। Why ecological significance of forest is more important in present day context? Explain. ये पार्ट ए का क्वेश्चन है। फिर पार्ट बी। Okay, so let's start it. Why ecological significance of forest is more important in present day context? Explain. Forest provides an environment for diverse plants and animals. They help in cleaning the environment, maintains microclimate and water cycle of an area. The world's forests hold significance for all of their inhabitants as well as for the general health of the planet. They help to avoid soil attrition and decompose of plants or its parts replenish the soil with nutrients. They preserve an appropriate equilibrium of oxygen and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. They also present in a variety of raw materials such as timber, wood, etc. and provides food inhabitant and nearby peoples. Forests have a significant ecological utility in fixing and storing carbon from the atmosphere. The benefits of forests to society and to the mixture of life make it essential that they are sheltered from deforestation and other possible harmful impacts of civilization. Plant, animals, water, light, air, temperature and soil, etc. are the components of natural environment. These factors collectively form the natural environment of a particular region. From the beginning, the Almighty Creator has established a balance in these elements. Any single notable change in any element of nature of any particular area affects the established balance among the total elements. Ultimately, it causes the adverse reaction to the environment as a whole. As a result, the natural environment is destroyed and gradually it becomes inhabitable. The flora, particularly the forest of a region or of a country, plays a direct role in maintaining the natural environment and protecting a balance because the plants are the primary producers. For example, if there is no plants in any water reservoir, then no fish will survive there, and in absence of fish, the fish dependent cranes, other birds and snakes will not be able to live there. If the forests of an area are destroyed, the water holding capacity of soil will be decreased, rainfall will be less, degradation of land will increase, rivers will be silted up, and in the rainy season the area will be flooded easily. And due to the lowering of water level in the dry season, drought will appear. The yield of crops will decrease and deficiency will increase. Again, all the inhabiting animals, birds, frogs, snakes will perish or they will come to the cropland or locality in search of food. If the number of plants is decreased, the amount of CO2 will increase in the atmosphere and the natural balance will be destroyed. So, for leading a normal, healthy life for ourselves and our next generation, we shall have to give adequate protection to our present forest resources and raise more and more forest and fruit trees to increase the plant resources according to the additional demand of the growing population. In statistics, approximately 50 countries have more than half of their total land area under forest, and 11 of these have more than 75% of their total land area under forest. On the other hand, 64 countries have less than 10% of their total land area enclosed by forests. 7 countries of these have no forest land at all. An additional 57 have forest on less than 10% of their total land area. Okay, next question. Answer the following questions in about 125 words each. Okay, second question में हमें parts में दिया हुआ है जिसमें हमें 125 words में explain करना है, kind of short answer type. Explain the characteristics of Western Ghat for inclusion as diversity hotspot. So, As one of the world's hottest biodiversity hotspot and a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Western Ghat is on the conservation watch list for being a rich but highly vulnerable region in urgent need of biodiversity conservation effort. Despite the negative effect of human activity in climate change, new species continue to be added to the endemic list of species that are recorded here, including 16 birds, 124 reptiles, 159 amphibians, 16 mammals, 189 fishes, 69 odonates, 36 butterflies, and 1600 flowering plants. The climate of the Western Ghat varies greatly with altitude and the area's distance from the equator. The lower reaches of the Ghats experience a tropical humid climate, which is moderate by the area's proximities of the sea. During the monsoons, the Western Ghat acts as a barrier to the rain-bearing clouds. Therefore, the windward side receives comparatively higher rainfall than the eastern parts of the Ghat, which is located in the rain shadow area. As a general observation in the world, endemic species are more common on the island than on the mainland, having been forced to isolate upon the separation of land masses, but being located on a large subcontinent. The Western Ghat makes an exception as land masses, but being located on the large subcontinent, the Western Ghat makes an exception as a mainland region containing one of the highest level of endemins in the world. About 54% of the 650 tree species, 65% of the amphibians, 62% of the reptiles, and the 53% of the fishes are endemic. Of the known invertebrates, 80% of the tiger beetles are endemic. The Western Ghat is also home to at least 325 globally threatened species. Of these 325 globally threatened species, there are about 229 plant species, 32 mammal species, 15 avian species, 43 amphibian species, 50 reptile species, and 1 fish species. Next question, second ka next part. Why hydropower is regarded as the best source of energy? Hydro is a Greek word which means water. Hydroelectricity is the conversion of the mechanical energy in flowing water into electricity. Hydroelectricity is generated when the force of falling water from dams, rivers, or waterfalls is used to turn turbines, which then drives generators that produce electricity. The energy produced is direct to a substance where transformers set up the voltage before its transmission to the electricity grid. Hydro is a Greek word which means water. फिर सेम चीज दोबारा रिपीट कर दी है. Next question. The importance of biomass has been increasing day by day in our surrounding among renewable resources. Explain it with suitable examples. Biomass energy has rapidly become a vital part of the global renewable energy mix and account for an ever-growing share of electric capacity added worldwide. Renewable energy supplies around 1/5 of the final energy consumption worldwide. Counting traditional biomass, large hydropower, and new renewables, traditional biomass, primarily for cooking and heating, represents about 13% and is growing slowly or even declining in some regions as biomass is used more efficiently or replaced by alternative energy forms. Some of the recent predictions suggest that biomass energy is likely to make up 1/3 of the total world energy mix by 2050. In fact, biofuels provides around 3% of the world's fuel for transport. Biomass energy resources are readily available in rural and urban areas for all countries. Biomass-based industry can foster rural development, provide employment opportunities, and promote biomass regrowth through sustainable land management practices. The negative aspects of traditional biomass utilization in developing countries can be mitigated by promotion of modern waste to energy technology, which provide solid, liquid, and gaseous fuels as well as electricity. Biomass wastes encompass a wide array of materials derived from agriculture, agro-industrials, and timber residues, as well as municipal and industrial waste. The most common technique for producing both heat and electricity energy from biomass waste is directly combustion. Thermal efficiency as high as 80 to 90% can be achieved by advanced gasification technology with greatly reduced atmospheric emissions. Next question. How does air pollution affect the atmospheric processes? Global warming. There is an imbalance in the gaseous composition of the atmosphere as a result of greenhouse gas emissions. The Earth's temperature has risen as a result of this. Global warming refers to an increase in the Earth's atmosphere. Earth temperature, the melting of glaciers, and rising sea levels have resulted as a result of this. Many parts of the island are completely submerged. Acid rain. Acid rain occurs when atmosphere is heavily polluted with nitrogen oxides and sulfur oxides. The combustion of fossil fuel emits hazardous gases into the atmosphere. When water droplets come into the contact with these contaminants, they become acidic and cause acid rain, harming people, animals, and plants. Disease. Humans have been detected with various respiratory and cardiovascular disease as a result of air pollution. Lung cancer has been more common during the previous few decades. Pneumonia and asthma are common in children who live near polluted environments. Every year, a large number of people die as a result of the direct or indirect impact of air pollution. Harmful impact on animals. Pollutants in the air settle in the water, affecting aquatic life. Pollution also causes animals to leave their natural habitat and relocate. These causes them to become stray and has resulted in the extinction of several animal species. Ozone layer depletion. The main source of ozone layer depletion is the emission of chlorofluorocarbons, halogens, and hydrochlorofluorocarbons into the atmosphere. The ozone layer's depletion does not protect people from the harmful UV rays of the sun, which cause skin disease and eye problems. Harmful effect on plants, as high concentration of pollutants in the atmosphere harms the plants, causing leaf drops, reduced leaf size, and premature aging, damaging plants, causing leaf spotting, photosynthetic activities to be solved, and vegetative development to be stifled. Next question is, what is disposal of waste? Why segregation of waste is needed? Sometimes wastes are illegally dumped into rivers and canals or used to fill the land depressions without proper consultation. These practices cause a lot of problems in the long run. These can range from the degradation of the soil quality to leaching toxic chemicals into underground water resources. Therefore, to prevent such scenarios, proper waste disposal methods should be adopted. Waste disposal means removing, discarding, recycling, destroying unwanted materials called waste that is produced from agriculture, domestic usage, or industrial products. Following the correct methods for waste disposal will ensure lesser pollution and hazards for the environment. Proper waste management is necessary with steps involving the proper collection of waste and scientific treatments that may contribute less to water pollution, soil pollution, and air pollution. Wastes can be numerous of type, and much of the waste generated today is non-biodegradable waste. Globalization and industrialization have contributed to this hugely. The dumps with harmful substances in the waste can release toxic fumes and smokes. Therefore, the correct disposal for the particular kind of waste is necessary. For example, the burning of all kinds of wastes may lead to the above problems and cause harm to bodies. Also, dumping into rivers and filling land depressions without proper administration is not encouraged. Wastes included plastic, batteries, sanitary and oil products should be properly disposed of. Doing so many results in a hazardous environments and a polluted atmosphere. Next question. Explain the human environment relationship by taking example of biotic and abiotic components. In general, abiotic factors like rock, soil, and water interact with biotic factors in the form of providing nutrients. The water, phosphorus, nitrogen, and carbon cycles are examples of this. Another way of biotic and abiotic factors interact is that biotic factor often changes the geology and geography of an area. The linkage between humans and the entire ecological unit are referred to as human-environment interaction. Human social system and their surrounding are complex adaptive systems. They are complicated because environment units and human social system contains many elements and connections. The feedback system that supports survival in a constantly changing environment are responsible for adaptiveness. Types of human interaction. Depending on the environment, every living thing in this world is relevant to the environment in which it exists. Living organism cannot survive without interaction, whether for air, water, food, or shelter. On the other hand, humans have expanded to the point where someone living in Boston may be reliant on in the environment in Central America for particular food, or on minerals mine in China for electronics. Essentially, everything you see is entirely reliant on environmental resources that originate thousands of miles away. Next, modification of the environment. Human actions frequently cause environmental change which can have beneficial and harmful consequences. Even the most environmentally friendly farming methods and renewable energy projects require natural resources. Humans consume a growing quantity of land to construct homes, shopping malls, and schools. When it gets colder, we burn coal, wood, and oil that we all acquire from our environment. Next, adaptation to the environment. People live in the oddest area, partly due to evolutionary achievements. The better a species adapt to change in the environment, the more likely it is to survive. You can see how much we have adapted to our natural habitat by looking for individuals living above the Arctic Circle in dense wilderness and dry savannas. For example, the natural resources utilization. People use various natural resources in their daily lives, including lumber, metal, and oil. There's also a reliance of food and water to survive. People use energy for various reasons, including domestic cooking and industrial purposes. Clothing, transportation services, building, technologies, devices, and other commonly used things all require different resources to be manufactured. Natural resources demands continues to rise as the world's population grows and per capita consumption area increases with socio-economic progress. Natural resource depletion due to extraction and exploitation, particularly concern and non-renewable resources. Deforestation. Deforestation is a problematic situation that arises due to overuse of natural resources and represents human environmental interaction. When forests are cleared, the trees are not restored and regrow. Ethiopia, Mexico, Brazil, America, Congo, and India have removed a large portion of their forests for economic and agriculture objectives to meet food, fuel, and construction material demands. These operations have resulted in a continuous loss of forest land, which is currently occurring. For deforestation has a slew of negative consequences. For starters, they are home to a diverse range of trees, plants, and creatures, ranging from tiny insects to birds, mammals, and reptiles. Converting forests to agricultural lands reduce biodiversity, which is essential for humans because they rely on other living organisms to provide a variety of needs, including food. It is obtained from plants such as wheat, rice, maize, and animals like fish, poultry, and cows. Water resources. The utilization of water resources is a strong indicator of human interaction with the environment. Water is used for various purposes, including home, agriculture, and industrial processes. In different places of the cosmos, the relative quantities of the three grouping differ. On the other hand, agriculture consumes the most significant amount of water. Water demands is increasing, resulting in unsustainable uses of water resources. Water is refilled when it is recycled. However, extracting large amount of water from water bodies for home, agriculture, or industrial purposes reduce the amount of water available for current and future generations. Next, as human civilization progressed, man started altering the environment in the pursuit of creating an economic, social, and cultural environment of his own choice. This slowly resulted in the depletion of natural resources and degradation of environment. Explain it in context of national legalization of water acts. Okay, the parliament, recognizing the importance of water free from pollution, enacted the Water of Pollution Act in 1974. This act was enacted to ensure the wholesomeness of water and to ensure that with industrialization and growth of cities, domestic and industrial influence and wastewater are not thrown into the stream of rivers without being treated first. For these purposes, the Act also envisages the creation of a central pollution control board and the state pollution control boards in the state. Although the main legalization dealing with water pollution is the Water Act 1974, most of the litigations have been filed under the General Criminal Law or under Articles 32 and 2026 of Constitution of India. In the period between 1980 to 1990, there has been a massive increase in pollution related litigations. In fact, just from 1990 to 1993, up to 13 judgments have been delivered by different courts of this issue, and a number of prosecutions against polluting industry have been launched under Section 33 of the Water Act. The awareness and consideration of environment covers several environmental issues such as pollution of water, air, and soil, land degradation, industrialization, urbanization, depletion of natural resources. Environmental laws play a very crucial and important role in regulating the use of natural resources and in protecting the environment. The success of environmental legalization mainly depends on the way they are enforced. Legislation also serves as a valuable tool for educating masses about their responsibility in maintaining healthy environment. Numerous legalization have already been put forth at national and international levels. In this lessons, you will learn about some important environmental legalization. Indian legislation are called Act, whereas the international legislation are in the form of conventions, protocols, and treaties. The genesis of various legislation in the country lies in the environmental problems. There should be effective legislation to protect the environment, or else the need of resources by the growing population will create havoc on the environment. The other important aspect at national level, serious efforts have been made for the improvement and protection of environment by incorporating changes the Constitution of India. Our constitution originally did not contain any direct provision regarding the protection of natural environment. However, after the United Nations Conference on Human Environment held in Stockholm in 1972, Indian Constitution was amended to include protection of the environment as a constitutional mandate. Although India had the Elephants Preservation Act of 1879 and the Forest Act of 1927, environment related legislation came very late in 1972 with Wildlife Protection Act 1971. As well, we all know India is one of the 12 mega diversity countries. There are innumerable species whose potential is not even known till date. Biodiversity has direct consumption value in agriculture, medicine, and industry, apart from it being a nation's wealth. There is constitutional provision in India for biodiversity conservation. The 42nd Amendment Clause to Article 51A of the India Constitution made it a fundamental duty to protect and improve the natural environment. It shall to be duty of every citizen in India to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and have compassion of living creatures. There is a directive given to the state as one of the directive principles of state policy regarding the protection and improvement of the environment. Article 48A states the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forests and wildlife of the country. The Department of Environment was established in India in 1980 to ensure a healthy environment for the country. This later became the Ministry of Environment and Forest in 1985. This ministry has overall responsibility for administrating and enforcing environment legislation and policies. The constitutional provisions are backed by the number of legislation, act and rules. Most of our environment legislation are act of parliament of the state legislatures. These acts generally delegate powers to regulating agencies to make rules for the purpose of their implementations. The Environment Protection Act of 1986 came into the force soon after the Bhopal gas tragedy and is considered umbrella legislation, and it fills many lacunae in the existing legislations thereafter. A large number of environmental legislation has been passed to deal with specific environmental problems. For example, in the recent past, of the use of CNG for public transport vehicles has been made mandatory in Delhi. This has reduced air pollution in Delhi. Next question. Biosphere reserves are internationally recognized areas established to promote and demonstrate a balanced relationship between humans and the biosphere. Elaborate this statement in the context of conservation of nature. Biosphere reservoirs are representative parts of natural and cultural landscapes extending over large area of terrestrial or coastland marine ecosystems or a combination thereof, and representative examples of biogeographic zones provisions. Criteria for designation of BR. A site that must contain an effectively protected and minimally disturbed core area of value of nature conservation. The core area should be typical of a biogeographical unit and large enough to sustain viable pollution, representing all trophic levels in the ecosystem. The management authority to ensure the environment cooperation of local communities to bring variety of knowledge and experience to link biodiversity conservation and socio-economic development while managing and containing the conflicts. Areas potential for preservation of traditional tribals and rural modes of living for harmonious use of environment. International status of biosphere reservoirs. The UNESCO has introduced the designation biosphere reservoirs for natural areas to minimize conflict between development and conservation. BRs are nominated by national government which meet a minimal set of criteria and adhere to minimal set of conditions for inclusion in the world network of biosphere reservoirs. Under the Man and Biosphere Reserves program of UNESCO globally, 621 BRs representing from 117 countries included in the network so far. Structure and function of BRs. Biosphere reserves are demarcated into following three interrelated zones. Core zones. Core zones must contain suitable habitat for numerous plant and animal species, including higher orders predators, and many contain centers of endemism. Core areas often conserve the wild relatives of economic species and also represent important genetic reservoirs having exceptional scientific interest. A core zone being national park or sanctuary protected, regulated mostly under the Wildlife Act 1972, while realizing the perturbation is an integrated ingredient of ecosystem functioning. The core zone is to be kept free from human pressure external to the system. Buffer zone. The buffer zone adjoins or surrounds core zone. Uses and activities are managed in this area in the way that helps in protection of core zone in its natural condition. These uses and activities include restoration, demonstration sites for enhancing value addition to the resources, limited recreation, tourism, fishing, grazing, which are permitted to reduce its effect on core zone. Research and educational activities are to be encouraged. Human activities, if natural within we are likely to continue if these do not adversely affect the ecological diversity. Transition zone. The transition area is the outermost part of a biosphere reserve. This is usually not delimited one and is a zone of cooperation where conservation knowledge and management skills are applied and users are managed in harmony with the purpose of the biosphere reserve. This includes settlements, croplands, managed forests, and area for intensive recreation and other economic uses characteristic of the region. Importance of biosphere reserve conservation, development, restoration, education and research, land use planning, healthy ecosystems. Okay, so यहाँ हमारा part A खत्म होता है. So next is our part B. Explain the following terms in about 60 words each. Seed bank. A seed bank is a place where seeds are stored to preserve genetic diversity for the future. They are usually flood, bomb, and radiation-proof vaults holding jars of seeds from different plant species. The seeds are typically kept at low humidity and in cold condition around 20 degrees Celsius. This helps to preserve the seeds, ensuring they can still grow when they are needed later. More than 1,000 seeds banks exist around the world, varying in type, size, and focus. The largest in the world is the Millennium Seed Bank in Sussex, managed and coordinated by the Royal Botanic Garden, Kew. It opened in 2000 and holds seeds from almost 40,000 species around the world, including nearly all the UK's native trees and plants. Incineration. Incineration is the destruction of something, especially waste material, by burning. Incineration is a waste treatment process that involves the combustion of organic substances contained in waste material. Incineration of water materials converts the waste into ash, flue gas, and heat. Incineration is a method of waste disposal where trash is burned. It is basically the destruction of waste. Trash is burned because it generates energy which is used for many different purposes. Industrial plants for waste incineration are called waste to energy facilities. The energy is then burned and created into steam and then into electricity. This has a very similar process to coal and oil combustion. Next is biological oxygen demand, or also called as biological oxygen demand, is the amount of dissolved oxygen needed by aerobic biological organism to break down organic materials present in a given water sample at certain temperature or over a specific time period. The dissolved oxygen that microorganisms like bacteria need to oxidize and organic substance in water are referred to as BOD. It is a metric for determining the quality of water. Biological oxygen demand is significant for water quality because it provides an index for determining the environmental impact of released effluent. BOD is often used to remediate wastewater because the breakdown of organic waste by microorganisms is a common treatment method. The amount of dissolved oxygen in streams and rivers is affected by biological oxygen demand, temperatures, pH, microbes, organic and inorganic elements also influence the rate of oxygen consumption. Higher types of aquatic life consume less oxygen. The effect of a high BOD are similar to those of a low dissolved oxygen level. Public health. Next question is about 150 words each. What is lentic and lotic ecosystem? Lentic systems, coming from the Latin terms lentus, means the aquatic system is moving very slowly, so slowly that the water appears to be motionless or nearly so. If you have ever seen a pond, lake, or wetland, you have witnessed a lentic system. Typically, there is a lower species here as well, but that doesn't mean they are not present. You might see an aquatic sow bug or a crane fly. Take a look in your local pond and see what critters are moving about. Lotic system, coming from lotus, are much faster flowing, and you can visibly see the running water. As mentioned before in one of our previous posts, fast moving waters, which can be riffles, can score away at the surrounding landscape much more as compared to lentic system. Lotic system include rivers, must be able to hold on tight as the forces of the water is constantly acting upon them. Some invertebrates have the ability to cement themselves onto a rock as to not be swept down river, like back flies wherever, whereas others use it to their advantage by creating a net, catching any food which is swept up in the current, like net spinning caddisfly. A lentic aquatic body can be divided into four major zones, each of which has its own characteristics. The zone around the margins of the aquatic body, which consists of shallow water, is known as the littoral zone. Plenty of light is available and rooted plants grow in the zone only. Limnitic zone is the zone of open waters which are deeper as well. There is a continuous unidirectional flow in a lotic system. The water usually flow in narrow channels which are not so deep as compared to lakes. It contains water derived from diverse sources. The bottom of a lotic body continuously adds and receives materials from the mass of water above. Lakes and lagoons, they are the most representative lentic ecosystem and have a medium large extension as well as a depth that reaches 2000 meters in some deep lakes. Wetlands and swamps. Next question is, what is ecological succession? Explain the type of succession with suitable diagrams. Their types. Explain the biocentrism and biocentrism in context of human attitude towards nature. Next is define natural calamities and its types with suitable example. Natural calamities are the calamities which are inflicted by God or nature or man and his world, and these calamities are unseen hand wreaks havoc in the part of the world it chooses to act upon. And on the natural activities of nature, no scientific or technological development can wield any control. They can occur as and when and where ordains it. Natural calamities can be of many different kinds, but the similarly in all is their massive destruction in the area of their occurrence. The natural disaster of many kinds, they are drought, famine, flood, earthquake, hailstorm, and a cyclone. Types of natural calamities. Major and minor calamities. Explain the cause of ozone depletion. How do ultraviolet rays affect human health, animals, plants, microorganisms, water and air quality. So the causes of ozone depletion. The depletion of the ozone layer is a serious worry that is linked to a variety of reasons. The following are the primary reasons of the ozone layer depletion. Natural causes: chlorofluorocarbons, nitrogenous compound, which causes skin cancer, melanoma, immunosuppression. Next question is, education of environmental awareness is essential for the younger generation as well as for the older generation. Explain the statement with the suitable example. Next question is, water harvesting is one of the effective measures of combat drought. Explain this statement with suitable arguments. So यहाँ हमारा असाइनमेंट ख़त्म होता है. स्टिल आपको अगर इसका PDF चाहिए होगा तो आप हमारे कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर जो डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में अवेलेबल है आप उस पर मैसेज कर सकते हैं, व्हाट्सएप कर सकते हैं. थैंक यू.